So welcome to today's mini bite on using conditional formatting in a Google spreadsheet. My name's Nicole Gladkey, and the webinar is being recorded, so I can send that to you after the webinar is done. So what I wanted to explain is that conditional formatting is simply just a way to kind of colorize your data to make certain things be more visible than just looking at data. But a lot of working with the data can be solved with creating pivot tables, filter views, and sorting. And those are things I go way more into depth at my in-person Google spreadsheet class. So we had 2 of them this semester. They were highly attended. We'll have another one in the summer, so please look out for that. And if this is something that you want your team to really embrace and understand, if Google Sheets is something you want to start using in your department, feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you guys a customized workshop on Google Sheets with any specific questions that you have. So today we're going to talk about automatically formatting your cells based on number, text, and date, and it's just going to bring a little bit of color to your data, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to work in this. I'm going to show you these just a few of these slides, and then I'm going to go right into a spreadsheet to show you live how it works. So just for our example today, oh, and we got a few more people that came in. Welcome Diana, welcome Donna, welcome Agnes, and welcome Cindy, I'm sorry. So welcome all. Let me know you can hear me by typing into the chat. We also have Stefania on the line, and she can answer almost any question on the chat while I do the presentation. So please feel free to type in any of your questions in there. And I hope you all can hear me. Again, we're recording this, so I can send you the recording later. So just to set up our scenario, we're going to use the example of a spreadsheet that collects data from a Google form. So here's our example Google form, and it's Bob's retirement party, and you put in your name, your department, what date works best with you, how many of your team will attend, and are you interested in bringing a dish, right, for like a potluck. And then when everyone fills out the spreadsheet, when everyone fills out the form, it gets dumped into a spreadsheet that looks similar to this box that just appeared. And again, it's just data. Now, this is a small data set, so this is easy to digest. But if this was a large data set, you might want to colorize certain aspects, certain specific aspects of that data. Okay, so this is what the spreadsheet looks like. And then you might want to do more with it by adding color to it to define certain things. Like, for example, if you wanted to highlight any empty cells, you can do that by making it pink, and I'll show you how to set this up in a minute on the side here. And you can tell that in column B, I don't know, 4 or 5, that it's blank. So we'll talk about highlighting empty cells, highlighting specific words. I'm going to show you how to do all of this. Highlighting specific cells based on content of other cells. This one is a little advanced. Highlighting certain dates. Doing a little number color scale. And here's a slide on how to set it up. You guys all have these slides in the calendar invitation, and you can always move these slides into your Google Drive or print them out or whatever you want to do with them. Okay. Also, we'll always continually update these slides, so it's a good idea to bookmark them. So let me move out of the slides, and I'm going to go right into the data. So again, here was the retirement party, RSVP. We don't need that. And then, yes, I want to leave the site. And then here's the data that it dumps into. Let me zoom in so everyone can see the data a little bit better. Okay. And the first thing we want to do is find out where conditional formatting is on our menu. Okay. So if I click on Format, Conditional Formatting, okay, it's only going to apply the conditional. This is a little bit misleading because if I wanted to find out where all my conditional formatting rules are, I have to change the range here. So let me do that again. If I were to select all my data, and that's by clicking on this box to the left of the A and above the 1, that's how you select all your data. Now if I want to see all the conditional formatting rules that is set up on this sheet, I can go to Format and Conditional Formatting. And you can do that too on the practice sheet that I sent you earlier. Okay? When you do that, all of the conditional formattings that we're going to talk about today is already here, so you can use that as practice. Next, if I want to see where I have conditional formatting or where each one of these are, so for example, this rule is any text that contains yes on column F1 through F13. Okay, it's going to change the color to any anything that says yes. For most of these, I have the color turned off, and I'm just going to turn the color on when I actually look into it. But you can see here when you hover over any one of these rules, it puts a green box around the data that you're applying the rule to. So for this cell is empty, it's B2 through B13. For this one, it's A2 through A13. Okay? What I found most confusing, and I'll show you that again, is if I don't have all my data selected and I'm looking for my conditional formatting rules, you won't see it. Okay? It'll look like there's no rules. So what I have to do again is select all my data and then go to Format, Conditional Formatting Rules. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, so let me move on how to actually do some conditional formatting. So the first one we want to do is find any cell that's empty. Okay, and you can see at a glance, let me unselect these items, that this cell is empty, B5. But we want it to automatically do that. When new data comes in, we want it to update and put a color on any cell that's empty so we can clearly see it. So to do that, you would select all your data, go to Format, Conditional Formatting, okay? And since I already kind of have that set up here, okay, I'm going to look at that one, okay? First thing you want to do is you want to specify the range, which is the cells that you want to apply this color to. So in this example, we want to find out if anything in column B is blank. Okay, so we would select our data by clicking on those little boxes, and then we can either type our data here or we can just select the boxes we want to focus on, and then click OK. And then the next question is if format cells if, and then we get to choose if the cell is empty, if the cell is not empty, if the text contains, and I'm not going to read all of these, but you kind of get the idea. You can do dates, you can do greater than or less than, between, but for this purpose, we want to see if the cell is empty, we want to do something to it. Okay? And then for formatting style, we just want to make it red. If we wanted to, we can make the content inside bold or strike through. This can be kind of useful, the strike through. But we're done here. So now, for these cells that I selected, it's going to make anything red or pink. Actually, it looks kind of pink if it's empty. Okay, and it'll stay like that. If I ever need to delete any of these rules, just remember to select all your data, go to Format, Conditional Formatting to see all your rules. And then, when you hover over each one of these rules, you can delete it by clicking on the trash can right there. Okay? All right. So that's to see if anything's empty. We also have another one if cell is empty from E2 to E13. So that's this column, how many will attend. Okay, and none of these are empty, so none of them have turned green. But if I were to delete one, I'll go back to my conditional formatting rules, make sure it's set up correctly. So if E2 through E13, cell is empty, make it green, done. Okay, so when I delete, it makes it green. If these zeros should be deleted, so anytime that there's an empty cell, that will turn green. Okay, any questions about that? All right, so let's say you want to highlight specific words. So for example, first off, let me just turn off these colors so that way it doesn't look too busy when we get done with everything. So to turn off these colors, I can just edit the rule, and then for the color fill, I'm just going to say 0 or none. Done. For this one, I'm going to turn this off. I'm not going to delete. I can delete it if I want to, but I'm just going to turn off the color, and that way it doesn't look too busy as I go on with the lesson. So let's say we just want to highlight all the yeses, but not the no's. And we can do that. Again, we need to highlight all of our text, and then open up conditional formatting, which is already opened. And then here it is. It's text contains yes in F1 through F13. So we would select our range, and I'll just do that over again. And select my range. Okay. And then I can choose if it always stays on cell is empty, but I can change it to if text contains yes, then I can change the color to, I'm just going to choose red or pink, and then click done. Okay. So let me close that up, and I'll move on to the next. So this way we can see who said yes, but part of the problem with this is that it highlights the yeses, but what if we want to highlight the names? Okay, as you can see, if I go back to the conditional formatting window, we don't get that option to say format a different cell pink. So let me show you how you can work around that. I'm going to take the color off of this one. And then I'm going to make a conditional formatting out of the box. So I want to make a color on a name. Okay, so that's the column D. And then so I selected my range, I would click Add New Rule. It already put my range in there for me, or if I wanted to change the range, I can click on these little cells again and change the range. And then what I want to do, I don't want to choose if the cell is empty or anything like that. I can go to all the way down at the bottom. It is called Custom Formula. Okay. And then here's where I can put the custom formula. So if you know a little bit about Excel formulas, you can kind of put some of them here. I just know the very basics, but I do know how to have the custom formula choose any of these yeses to make a different color. And the way you do that is you always start your formula with an equal sign. Okay. And then you want it to focus on the column F, so it would be F through F, okay, and that'll focus on the entire column, the entire F column. And then you want it to do something if it equals yes, and you got to put yes in quotes. I'll just make it capital. And as you see when I'm writing this, it already starts to highlight that. So let me just choose, I'm going to choose for my color this time, I'm going to choose yellow and then done. So now I have it making column D yellow while looking at column F. Okay? That's the only way you can do that, and you have to do it with a custom formula. Otherwise, what will happen is I can only make the yeses here yellow if I don't use a custom formula. Another example of highlighting dates is, well, let's highlight some dates. So I'm done with this. And let's say I wanted to find out who the early birds were. Who were the ones that registered almost the first day that this survey went out. So you can see some people registered on the 22nd, the 25th, 23rd, the 31st. This was someone late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my range, click on Format, Conditional Formatting. Okay, I'm going to delete this one and remake it. Add a new rule. So I got my range already chosen, and if I want to choose another one, I can click on this button and choose a new range. And then I'm going to have it format cells if the date is before /24/2013. And I will make that a nice dark, I'll make it purple. And then click done. So now I can see who the early birds were who registered before the 24th. There's one last thing you can do is, first let me take off all the color here. So I'm going to remove the color by making this none. And I'm going to remove the color here by making this none. And let's say, for example, I wanted to, you can do something called color scale. So if I highlight the text here, and I can create a new rule. And instead of doing a single color, I can do more of a color scale. And the first box is my range, so I got my range correct. And then it shows a little preview of the color. Maybe if I want to change the color, I can do that. So I will pick I will pick the red to white. And then let's say this is my, you put your minimum value. So you want to choose number. You can choose percent or percentile, but I'm just going to choose number because that's the easiest for me. And then the max. I'm going to choose number. And it already fills that in, so I don't have to fill that in myself. When I click done, it's done. And you can see here that the ones with minimal amount of people coming are the darker red, and the ones with the most people coming are white, except for the ones that don't have anything in it. So if I put something in here like, I'll put 10. Oops. It automatically updates. So when you have those rules, and new data appears, it'll update the data with the correct color. If I wanted to change this and make it sort of opposite to where the higher numbers are darker red and the lower numbers are white, I could do that as well, just by clicking on the conditional formatting rule and then changing this one to white. Oops, won't let me do that. White. And then this one to, let's pick a dark purple. And then done. Okay. All right, so I showed you about 4 or 5 examples using conditional formatting on your data. Does anybody have any questions about this? Or is there something that you're trying to do with your data that maybe you do with Excel and you're not sure how to do with Google Sheets? Priscilla, it really is straightforward. The only thing that always gets me is when I open up the sheet and I go, I got to find my conditional formatting rules, right? And I go to Format, Conditional Formatting. It doesn't show my rules because it really depends on what cells you have active. So right now, J15 is the active cell, even though I have a number of rules on this sheet. So you always have to remember, again, to select all your data, format, and then click on conditional formatting, and then you'll see all your rules. You'll also notice that the box on the side here shows the color that gets changed, but for most of them, to keep this spreadsheet not too busy, I turned off the color, and you can always add color. Okay? So Donna writes, I noticed earlier that before you added a number for the record Rachel, it has not been colored for the response yes. Was that a bug or caused by incomplete data? So let me see. Rachel is, let me see. Let's just focus on Rachel. So I just want to focus on these. And let me see. Rachel is 10. So I'm not quite sure I understand the question. It's really not a bug. It might look like a bug, but so if they said yes, right? Let me add color to the yes one. So I'll make that like this brownish color, and then done. So Sally is yes. Bill, Erin, and Rachel is yes. So it does work for Rachel. I might have just been doing something a little bit different and playing around with this. So Priscilla writes, I played around prior to the class this morning, and I found the conditional format pink color also. Okay, good, great. So yes, this does look very messy, and I can delete them. Oops. And change them around. Okay. All right, that's all I had to show you today. Again, if you wanted to invest more time in learning Google Sheets, we have a full Google Sheets workshop. We had 2 this semester. They were very popular, so I'll be running at least another one over the summer if you're interested. Okay, we talk about pivot tables, we talk about filter views, which I think is extremely helpful when you have to synthesize your data, especially if you have a lot of data. When will I run it this summer? Well, when do you want to come? The schedule hasn't been planned yet, but if I run it and it doesn't work with your schedule, I can see about running another one in the summer. Okay. Thank you very much, Priscilla. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to write to Do It Training. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off in another couple minutes.